The internet is amazing. It reduces time and space to connect, communicate, share, transact, whatever it might be. As simple as it sounds, we just want to exist online the way we want to. Take advantage of the reduction of time and space on our terms. But today, they're increasingly not on our terms. Someone else always seems to be in control. Let's zoom out. First, big tech is dominating the entire market. 7 companies account for 29% of the value of the S&P 500. And we're in the platform era. In each digital industry, from ride-hailing to short-term rentals to food delivery, there's only 1, 2, or maybe a few platforms that you can choose from. We're using the internet on their terms. Consolidation and monopoly is not good, but it's happening all around us. The Open Markets Institute highlights everything from car rental to corn seed. Question is technology doomed to look like these other industries? It shouldn't. It has some consolidation-resistant qualities. Software can be open source. Digital assets don't have the same hard costs as physical assets. Computers should be able to run all programs. Interoperability is possible. So why is it like this? The technology business doesn't have to look this way. The fact that it does means the current internet is broken. The problem is when you talk about this with other people, at least I feel like this. Because most people are in what we'll call Group 1. They don't know it's broken and they're unaware of what's possible. I love how convenient Uber is. Plus, it's a great way for drivers to make some extra money on the side, right? Then there's Group 2. They know it's broken, but they don't think it's fixable. Maybe a bit jaded or skeptical. Yeah, Uber's bad to drivers, but easier than hailing a cab, so whatever. Then you have Group 3. They know it's broken, and they're either using, building, or supporting something else. Now, we're optimistic about the people in Group 1. As Zuboff says, every survey of internet users has shown that once people become aware of surveillance capitalists' backstage practices, they reject them. We're also optimistic about Group 2. All they need is a good solution. So, why are things this way? It's not because the current incumbents are just lucky. There's a playbook. These companies and their investors are savvy. The playbook comes down to a combination of walled gardens and network effects. A walled garden is a closed system controlled by one company. It has proprietary standards unique to the platform, little to no interoperability. The platform owner curates and controls the content, and they take a significant cut of the revenue because they can. Most apps, the vast majority of them, are walled gardens. Then you have network effects, when something gets more valuable as more people use it. The problem is when you have network effects inside walled gardens. If you're inside a walled garden and more people join, it just becomes harder to leave. The switching costs are high and users feel locked in. The network effect gets taken advantage of, and ultimately the value accrues to the platform owner. What you end up with is a network effect inside each walled garden. And since the walled gardens don't interoperate, it's all about who can be the biggest network, the only place to meet. A business wanting to be a monopoly. Is this a new problem? Is this just how apps work? No, it's kind of an old problem and we've solved it before. Telephone networks used to only be local and calling different regions was complicated. But now we have nationwide numbering systems. Interoperability is important. It's hard to imagine being limited to only calling people on the same carrier or only emailing people that have the same email provider. But when it comes to apps, we're living in the past. As innovative as things might feel, we're still stuck with this old problem. Anyone can collaborate on a Google Doc, but they all need to have a Gmail account. Get delivery from any local restaurant, but you can only find them through the DoorDash looking glass or the Uber Eats looking glass. Once you look at it that way, it seems archaic. But all around us, the general sentiment from those Group 1 folks is that we're already living in the future. I don't blame them. Walled gardens are attractive at first. They're convenient, easy, sometimes they're free, like social media, or they're initially subsidized, like when Uber first launched and was effectively buying the taxi market. Tactics to initially attract enough people to their walled garden. It's easy to fall for this. They're two-faced. The messaging to users usually doesn't match the investor pitch deck. To users, the focus is on what they can do with the app. To investors, the focus is on how they're going to extract value in the long run. Now, why is this a big deal? Why does it matter if one company owns the network effect? Well, first, it enables them to be a choke point. A choke point looks like the middle of an hourglass, big on each end, and a tiny single passage between them. The advantageous position of connecting two sides of a market. The book Choke Point Capitalism discusses this, especially as it relates to creative industries. Choke points are everywhere in online business models. Think of Google search with its 90% market share. The auction model that Google uses for AdWords means companies will pay the maximum possible in their industry to reach searchers. They're pitted against each other, trying to compete for better position on that tiny first page that connects searchers and sites looking to get clicks. Good at maximizing revenue for the choke point, but it sucks all the air out of the room for everyone else. Another thing that's happening has been coined enshittification by Cory Doctorow. Why apps that start out good get worse over time. Instagram didn't used to be full of so much promoted and suggested content. Google search didn't used to have so many ads and web pages purpose-built for SEO. He says, here's how platforms die. Let's use Facebook as a quick example. First, they're good to their users. Come to Facebook, the ad-free social network. We'll only show you what you want to see. Then, they abuse their users to make things better for their business customers. Well, actually, we've been spying on you, building a profile on you, and now we're going to start putting other stuff in your feed. Some of it will be ads, and some of it will be suggested content for websites we're trying to drive traffic to. Hey, newspaper and media companies, here's some free new eyeballs. Finally, they abuse those business customers to claw back all the value for themselves. Oh yeah, newspaper and media companies, I know you've gotten used to this steady traffic from us, but we're not going to give you free eyeballs anymore. If you want to reach people, you either need to pay for ads or pay to boost your posts to your own followers. Then they die. It's hard to believe you might be thinking that these platforms will ever die, but things do change. The internet is still young. What else is happening? It's harder than ever for new entrants. We're only seeing big platforms compete with other big platforms. You get Uber versus Lyft, Airbnb versus Vrbo, Google versus Bing. It's not like we live in a time where two people in a garage can come up with something and actually compete with the big incumbents. Want to build a new app? Unless the plan is to go and raise a ton of venture capital, good luck. You'll need a long runway to get enough users to make your business viable. All of this can be summed up as a huge mismatch between expectation and reality. The expectation was that the internet would be the great disintermediation medium. The reality, you have a handful of massive intermediaries in each industry, squeezing everyone in their ecosystem, getting worse over time, and they're harder to compete with than ever. Now, like us, what if you have an idea for an app and you're saying, I don't want to be a category-winning choke point that enshittifies over time? Well, the best you can do is say, I'll be different. Trust me. I'm going to build a new social networking app, but I promise we won't spy on you, won't sell you ads, and won't control your feed. Or we're going to build a new ride-hailing application, but we promise to pay the drivers better. Even though you might mean it, why would anyone believe you? Once Google's shareholders saw a pile of money on the line, their original motto of "don't be evil" quickly went out the window. What we need is a new way of building applications where the developers don't have to rely on trust me. The data, your data when you use an application, and your social graph, who you're connected to in that app, cannot be owned by the platform. It needs to be flipped. People, not platforms, should own their data and social graph. And that should be the basis for creating new applications. So we built exactly that, and we call it Bonafide. Bonafide is based on a protocol that we developed. It has a decentralized and distributed architecture where each person has their own database. The connections between people are unique, no centralized IDs or addresses. A person's data and social graph are stored in each person's database. They can use different Bonafide apps to access their data. The developers of Bonafide apps do not access the person's database. It's kind of like when you download a program to your computer. It can access your file system so you can do something with the program, like edit a movie, but that content isn't owned by the program. Like email is to SMTP, we needed to build an application of the Bonafide protocol. That application is Pools, and I'll talk about it in a minute. Now, unlike SMTP, which is specifically for email, the Bonafide protocol can support the building of all kinds of apps. It kind of looks like this. That important data and social graph lives in each person's database. That's yours. You can add, swap, and drop applications without losing access to your data and social graph. Truly interoperable apps. Bonafide, this new way of building apps, is rooted in privacy. It's a privacy-first technology. Privacy is important. As Zuboff explains, we're being watched and nudged for profit or ideology. But privacy is more than just being private. By giving people ownership and control of their data and social graph, where the apps are interoperable, we can also change the power dynamic from platforms to people. We can reduce switching costs, which increases competition, which increases value for users. We need this if we're going to have a robust and competitive technology industry. So what is Pools? It's a social app. It's how being social online works when each person, and not the platform, is in control. One app for connecting with people, one-to-one messaging, group messaging, organizing stuff, sharing, curating, and commenting. Pools is your own private social network. Being social online doesn't have to come with all the downsides of today's social media. Another thing you can do in Pools is curate and recommend things. We've started by adding an index of podcasts, but we'll be adding movies, books, TV, etc. Curate and discover through your connections. Even though you're using the Pools app, you're really building your own network of Bonafide connections in your own database. Those connections, that network effect, isn't inside Pools. It's your own network effect. In fact, once Bonafide is ready for other companies and developers to start building apps, someone should be able to build their own Pools alternative, a Pools competitor, and convert our users. If they're offering a better service and our users aren't happy with us, they should be able to freely leave and take their important data and social graph with them. This is key. We've got to move past the idea of someone using their first mover advantage to harness the network effect and build a moat around their business. If apps are not truly interoperable under the control of each person like this, we're bound to recreate the same issues of today. Over time, when more people have their own network of Bonafide connections, it'll be more valuable for other developers to build apps. We can reduce the need for this critical mass in each centralized walled garden. So many great app concepts can't get enough users fast enough to be viable. Can't get 1 million people quickly on your new dog walking app? It'll fail. But by the network effect living with people and not the platforms, we can move from my app needs to achieve a sufficient network effect to my app just needs to add value to my users' network. What we'll end up with is more options than we have today. Competitive options, because interoperability is built in from the beginning. People are in control. People own their network effect. Building a sustainable app shouldn't only be possible with a ton of investment capital. So let's go forward, but retrieve the old idea of people building sustainable apps in their garage. As I'm hoping is becoming clear, Bonafide can be our collective future, not something that we own. So we've built Bonafide and Pools without any venture capital, and our plan is to continue developing both in parallel. Pools is available in the Apple App Store and Google Play Store. It's a paid app, and we plan to grow our number of subscribers. We obviously need subscribers to make Pools viable. Then we can put more resources into Bonafide, make it open source, and publish APIs. We see a future where we establish the nonprofit Bonafide Foundation. Eventually, other developers can start building their own Bonafide apps. Any existing space that's being dominated by walled gardens should be reimagined with Bonafide. Sky's the limit. So how's this going to catch on? In this world where we've got Group 1, Group 2, and Group 3, it's been tough to get people to switch to new alternatives. If you're building, let's say, a new decentralized version of Twitter, you're going to be hamstrung by the collective action problem. It's hard to get enough people to convert quickly enough so a new alternative can catch on. On the other hand, Pools works with just one connection. Your partner, friend, family member, coworker, classmate, whatever. It doesn't need to hit 1 million users for the app to have value to you. So we can start small and the app can grow organically. So for now, subscribe to Pools and tell your friends and family. Start building your own network. Eventually, others can build their own Bonafide applications, and you'll have some people to use those apps with. And over time, we can go from our current state to something much more exciting. Learn more about Bonafide here, learn more about Pools here or in the app, and please don't hesitate to contact me. I read every email and I'll get back to you.